so when we translate 5 units up, you guys will refer to, until you have it memorized, because you'll get it memorized, we'll do this in every single chapter, you will refer to the vertical translation that says, take the function, add that number. So I'm going to start out by writing, what do I call this new function? G. Where'd you find G? Directions. So we're going to name it g of x equals, we're going to take f of x, and outside of the function, we are going to add 5. So now, what is this function? What is the f of x? 3x. So now I replace. I just say 3x plus 5. So just replaced it. And then we just simplify it a little bit. Simplify. G of x equals 3x plus 5. Done. Now I show you how to check it. Not how to get the answer, but how to check the answer on your graphing calculator. So, you won't be able to see everything I push, so if I go too fast or your screen does not look the same, your job is to stop me. Don't let me finish 10 minutes and then say, mine never worked. Your job is to stop me. Okay, I'm going to turn it on. Then anything at the very top, you can kind of see my finger down here moving. Anything at the very, very top, those are all the graphing buttons. These are the very top of the graphing buttons. So we're going to go to y equals. And you might have some stuff in there, which I do. To get rid of all that stuff, we can clear, go down or enter, clear, until everything's gone. Also, you might have up at the top, plot 1, plot 2, or plot 3. It might be darkened. I can show you what that would look like. Oops. It might be darkened like this. If yours is darkened, you might have an issue later. This is when we do statistics, which we're not doing right now. This is data. We're not doing data. We're just going to graph an equation. So you go up there, and you hit enter, and you come back down, and it turns off. So we want nothing in here at all when we start. So we're going to type in 3, and to find the x, so my finger is pointing towards it, there's a button right next to the alpha that says xt. It has a weird circle with a line through it called theta and an n. So that's your x button. So I typed in 3x. Now I'm going to go down, and I'm going to type in my answer, which was 3x and then plus 5. Questions? No, because remember I simplified and got rid of them. So I'm typing in this one that was simplified. If you put parentheses, it should still work. Okay. So now to graph on our graphing calculators, we're going to graph, but your graph might look different than mine, so I will go through how to fix it, and we'll all fix it together, even if yours looks perfect. Mine, I don't even know if mine looks perfect. So to graph anything, there's a button right here. It says graph. Graph. Oh, mine does look good. Okay. So there's the first graph, and then the second graph. Okay. I'm going to show you what might happen, and some of you might have, does anybody have a picture that looks different than mine? Okay, nobody's admitting it, but I did hear a yes. So let's say that, I'll change something really fast. I'm not showing you what I'm changing, but. Okay, so maybe you have a picture that does not look all nice and centered. There is a very easy fix to make your picture always look centered the way mine did. So let's all do this together. Even if yours already looks centered, it won't hurt it by doing it again. You hit the zoom button, zoom, and then you choose standard, which you do not have to arrow down. You don't have to arrow down. You can just hit 6. And then it fixes the window and makes it look nice. So Zoom 6 is a good way of fixing your window if it gets messed up. And another thing about my window, if you're not sure what your window is that we're looking at right now, if you're not sure, you know, if I make tick marks, do you know what I'm counting by? Do you know what my scale is? So it could be 1, and hopefully it is if I'm showing you this is my graph. But if I'm going to change it up, and you guys tell me what my what I'm counting by. I just want to show you why we have to know about these things. Does my picture kind of look the same?
No.
That's the same equation that you guys have graphed, but yours looks a little bit different. I am counting by 2s this time. So you can actually see what you are counting by, and you can change it to whatever you want to count by. So let's explore that. Go to the button that says window. If you go to your window, you can change your window to look however you want. So right here, I have X minimum. That means all the way left side, the smallest. X maximum would be the biggest on the X. X scale is what each tick mark is worth. So I was counting by 2s that time. Y minimum, I used -20. Y maximum, I used 20. And then I was counting by 2s. Anything past there, I wouldn't worry about. So if I want my window to be the same as yours, does anybody remember the buttons I can push? If I want to just fix my window, quick fix. Zoom 6, and I'll go back to my window so you can see now my window is -10 to +10. So you can change your window to be whatever you want. You can change it to be -100 to +100 if you want, but I maybe not want to count by 1s. Maybe I count by 10s for that. Okay, you can change your window to be whatever you want. All right, so going back to Zoom 6 and just looking at the regular one, we're going to kind of check that the original graph, no, the new graph is 5 units up from the original graph. We're just checking. So I'm going to look at that 0, 0 right in the middle here, and then I'm going to look straight up. Is there a point? I just wrote on this. Is there a point straight up from 0, 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, 5. 5 units up. And they have that same slope. So that's how I know that my picture looks like what I was supposed to graph. Okay, let's try number 2. And we'll come back to our graphing calculator in a moment. Number 2 says, f of x equals absolute value of x minus 3. We're going to translate 4 units to the right. So to the right, is that vertical or horizontal?
Horizontal.
So you have that on the previous page. I was helping somebody yesterday, and if English is not your first language and you have trouble like knowing what these are, if I say, oh, just think of the horizon, you probably still don't know what that means. You don't know all the words in English. We came up with a little trick that horizontal, there's the line for horizontal, it's that way. And maybe vertical has the T, I don't know. Can't go off the L.
Horizontal.
Yeah, I guess so. So just use the H. So just use the H, okay? I don't know. I was trying to come up with something. I didn't even come up with that. Miss Worley can do that. So that is inside. So anytime we have horizontal, it's going to be on the inside of those parentheses. It's going to be the inside of the function. It's also going to be opposite operation. And when we have horizontal, this is the kind that we replace x with parentheses, something in it. Those we did yesterday as well. So that was on our previous day of notes. We're just reviewing what we did yesterday. So I'm going to start out with g of x. And we see this is a translation 4 units to the right. So since it's horizontal, I'm going to start with f of, and I'm going to have a parenthesis. Since it's horizontal to the right, those 4 units are going to go inside the parenthesis. Except, do I add or subtract? Why do I subtract? Opposite operation. So we will subtract on the inside. So again, that means replace x with parenthesis x minus 4. So the question is, what x am I replacing? What x am I replacing? Way up here in the f equation. This is the x we're replacing. Replace this x. So you will write the whole equation. You will just replace that x with parenthesis x minus 4. But notice how my absolute value is still there. Notice how my minus 3 is still there on the outside of the absolute value.
Please pardon the interruption. Brad Burnett, please call extension 10,000. Brad Burnett, please call extension 10,000.
Now, anytime you have these huge walls, you don't really cross over them. You do not. You do not. So I am not going to be able to subtract 4 and subtract 3 together because there's a big old wall saying, stay out of my room. Okay? So as for simplifying, I don't really need the extra parentheses on the inside. Sometimes I do, but I don't really need them for this one. So I'll just get rid of those. And the minus 3 just stays minus 3. The minus 4 just stays minus 4 because they can't cross over those walls. So that's it for that one. Now I'll show you how to graph them. So to graph anything, where do you think I should go? Y equals. Do I need 3x and 3x plus 5? No. So I clear. Now I need absolute value. Absolute value is a little harder to find because it's not on the calculator standing out right there. I wonder if it's under math. Second trace? Oh, no, that's something else. Here it is. I will tell you, I didn't know where, okay, here, let me go back here. So you can, there's 2 ways we can find it. One way, if you don't know where it is, you can always use the catalog. The catalog is at the bottom, it's second 0. Do you see it has the word catalog? That's everything in alphabetical order. So if you do second catalog, absolute value is the very first thing that pops up because it's an A. That's normally where I find it because it's pretty fast. I'll show you where I just found it, where it is also. But if you find it there, if you do second catalog, you find absolute value. See how it has a little arrow there? I'm going to hit enter, and it puts the absolute value in there. Some of you with an older calculator, it might still say ABS and have the parentheses. Does anybody have the ABS parentheses? That's totally fine too. You have that? It's just a different model of calculator. It's all the same buttons. Okay, so now a different way of finding it besides under the catalog.